All right, we are on our last unit. This is it, the last one. We are looking at exponentials. So today we'll be looking at the key features of exponentials. So here is the equation we'll be using for an exponential. So it'll be y equals, there we go, a times b to the power of x. Most of the time this b will be in parentheses. So you'll see there are two different numbers. So what a is going to show us is this will be our y-intercept. Or it could also be mentioned as the start. So where our line, our exponential crosses the y-axis. And then b, this is called our growth or decay rate. So it might say rate of growth, rate of decay, growth rate, decay rate. So for it to be growth, b needs to be greater than or equal to 1. For a decay, it needs to be between 0 and 1. So it's going to be a decimal or a fraction. So it might be 0.3, maybe 1/2, 2/3, something like that will be a decay. But for a growth, it'll be 1 or higher, any number above 1. So let's look at some graphs. So first one, use the graph to answer these questions. So the first question is growth or decay. So if we start on the left side, we can see that our line, our curve is going up. It's getting taller and taller. So this would be a growth. Our y-intercept, we're looking at where it crosses the y-axis. So here is our y-axis, and we can see it crosses here at 1, 2. So our y-intercept would be 0, 2. Your asymptote, what this is a line that our graph never crosses. It's going to be the same for every graph this year. And that is going to be all the way down here at 0. This is a line that you cannot see, but our graph will never cross it. So this line is y equals 0. So it means that this line will never cross the x-axis. It will never go down here to the negatives. It'll get really, really, really close, but never cross. And then our domain, if you remember, we talked about domain back in the fall. Domain is looking from side to the other side. So here we have an arrow and we have another arrow. So that means this line will never stop. It's going to cover every number. So what we will put is all real numbers. Again, this will be the same for every one. It will always be all real numbers. And then our range is looking from the bottom to the top. So on the bottom, we talked about this asymptote, this line where it will never cross. So that means it'll always be bigger than 0, but with this arrow, that means it's going to go up, 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 up forever. So what we would put for our range is range, or y, is greater than 0. It has to be bigger than 0. And for domain, I'll put x, and then this is just a tall bar here. So domain is x, range is y. X is all real numbers, range is greater than 0. All right, let's look at one more graph, and then you'll have some practice. Oh, I was going to look at one more thing with this. The equation. If we wanted to write the equation y equals ab to the power of x, our a is our y-intercept. So here our y-intercept was 2, so this a would be 2. For b, we have a growth. It's growing, so we want b to be greater than or equal to 1. We can't really tell what it is from this graph, so for here I could put in any number. So maybe I put in 5, maybe 6. It's you'll be given that number if you have to plug it in. And then y and x stay the same. So again, this a, R2, came from the y-intercept. And our b, this 5, came from the fact that it was growth. Okay, now let's look at one more. All right, here we have another graph. So again, we want to start by seeing, is this a growth or a decay? So from left to right, we can see this line is very quickly going down. So since it goes down, it would be decay. And then for the y-intercept, we want to look at where it crosses the y-axis. So if we look, it's kind of hard to tell here, but I'm pretty sure it's, don't look at the pink line, look at the black. It's crossing here at 10. So this would be 0, 10. If you can't see it on your homework or on the practices, ask, and I'll help you know what number that is. All right, and then we have our 3 things that never change. So our asymptote, we can see the line here, how the black gets really, really close to the x-axis. It looks like it touches, but it does not. So that asymptote will be y equals 0. And then domain, we want to look side to side. And from side to side, I can see arrow, arrow. So that means our domain is all real numbers. And then for range, we want to look bottom. So here's the bottom to the top. So again, at the top, we have an arrow. At the bottom, it's getting really close to 0, but never touching. So this will be y is greater than 0. And again, if I want to look at that equation, y equals abx, for a, I would look at the y-intercept. So here it's 10. So I would plug in 10. And then for the b, I would look at the growth or decay. So we said here it's decay. So that means for the b, we want it to be between 0 and 1. So you could pick 0.3, you could do 2/5, whatever you want to put in here, as long as it's between 0 and 1. All right, if you have questions, please ask me, please ask Miss B. And you have a class kick, which will have blanks exactly like this. And there is a quizzes, which will have multiple choice looking at this equation and graphs. Good luck.